How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Milo, coming from Denver, Colorado,
My name is Cade Campbell, coming from Seattle, Washington.
and we're bringing you our fourth show podcast of West 'em Up, All American or Armchair All American AFC West show. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Oh, no, go
let's
ahead.
let's start out with some news that Cade has here for us.
Some news around the AFC this week, AFC West, that is, this week. You guys probably already know Derek Carr went down with a back injury this last Sunday against the Broncos. He's scheduled to be out 2 to 6 weeks. We have EJ Manuel stepping up in his place. And Milo, what do you think about EJ Manuel? You think he can bring this offense, spark it back up like it used to be a couple weeks ago?
He might be able to after watching that game on Sunday. I mean, the game was close enough as it is, but really, EJ Manuel, when he came into the game after Derek Carr went out the game, he just looked phenomenal there for a while, and didn't miss a pass for quite some time. Was getting the ball downfield, was exposing one of the weaknesses on the Denver Broncos defense, which has been their pass defense this year. So I do believe he can jumpstart that offense and get them the win this week.
Yeah, same here. I think it was around the 8 minute mark. He started, he came in and he just started slinging it. Didn't miss a pass, and he looked comfortable in that offense. And he reminded me of Derek Carr last year. It just seemed unstoppable that those last couple of drives he was in there before the pick. But yeah, they need a jump start in this offense for sure. I mean, their total offense is ranked number 27th in the league, and that's strange coming from Oakland.
Yeah, you would think, especially with, say, Amari Cooper gaining some weight and getting big so he can get downfield, break more tackles, and them getting in beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. You would think that the Raiders would have something going on special, but it's been far from that.
Yeah, it's been, kind of disappointing these last 2 weeks, and especially from the Amari Cooper standpoint. I mean, he's, talked about as an elite wide receiver in this league, and the first couple of weeks, he showed that, but, he's fell off these past two. Credit to, the Broncos defense and then the Redskins defense for the dominance they had over the Raiders. But you just don't see Cooper like this. He had 2 receptions for 9 yards. It's kind of strange out there in Oakland right now, like panic mode.
Yeah, they'll need to get it together, especially the next 2 to 6 weeks while Carr is out, because if they don't, they'll fall out of contention, I would say, for the playoffs, and that could be as easy as losing 3 out of the next 4 games. So they'll definitely need to get it together and hope for the best. Hope that Carr makes a speedy recovery, and hope that EJ Manuel has some really good games.
Yeah, hope so. They're going to really need that. And how about Derek Carr? Do you think you should get him back as ASAP, or do you think you should let him heal up to his full potential like he was at last year?
I would let him heal for sure. If they're planning on making a deep playoff run and even coming back to make a good playoff run, they'll want to rest him. They have a pretty light schedule coming up for the next 2 weeks with Baltimore Ravens, who have been kind of disappointing this year, and then the Los Angeles Chargers. So after that, they face 2 tough defenses in the Chiefs and the Bills, and if they can't get it together soon, they could be staring at possibly losing 3 out of the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point with that schedule. These next 2 weeks, they're not somewhat easy, but lighter teams, especially when the Ravens and then the Chargers. It's a division game, but yeah, I think you need to let him heal up and then get his mind right, get his body right to make that late playoff push, and even that late season push. Even though they've lost these last 2 weeks, was put them in a hole kind of in this really good division the AFC West is. So yeah, I think you just need to let him heal and make that late playoff push, or that late season push, that is.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at their schedule, they will need him for the end of the year. And December alone, they played the Kansas City Chiefs once, the Chargers again, um, for the last game of the season. They also played the Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas Day and the Dallas Cowboys a week before that. So they'll want to get Carr 100% before they bring him back and try to get that offense working again because it's going to be a tough schedule going henceforth.
Oh yeah, for sure. And another thing coming out of the AFC West is the Los Angeles Chargers dropped their kicker, Young Ho Koo, and they picked up Nick Novak, who was on the team a couple years ago. How do you feel about that move?
Koo just wasn't cutting it. I mean, the kid he was making history, as one of the first Asian players, if not the first Asian player to play in the league. And I had high hopes for the kid. I was hoping that he would shine and just kind of pull a Jeremy Lin for all of us, I guess you could say. But he really didn't. He was missing some key kicks. Just couldn't get the ball between the poles. And Novak, he's missed some kicks, but at least he's a reliable veteran. That's the one thing that the Chargers were looking for is either a young kicker that was going to blossom into somebody that was clutch or a veteran that can, kick a 50-yard field goal, make it, and keep them in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his stats this year. He's made 3 field goals. He's attempted 6. 50% mark just doesn't make it in the NFL. And I think, being the first Korean athlete in the NFL, I think the pressure did get to him a little bit. Him only being 23 years old, that can get to you pretty well. But hopefully he gets another chance in this league because he definitely has a good leg and can make a team better.
Yeah, and he'll just need to mature a little bit. It is a whole different game in the NFL compared to collegiate sports, and so you just need to really focus on improving every day, and the speed's a lot quicker, so you obviously have to kick a lot higher just because at launch point, because sometimes those big tough defensive tackles will just rush through the line and block a kick.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to watch out for the line for sure. And then even their record shows that they're 0-4, and how many weeks have they been a field goal away from winning a game? And Nick Novak, like you said, is going to bring that stability, that consistency, that veteran leadership to give your players a hopeful that he will make the game-winning kick. And so I think it's a great move by the Chargers as well.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. I mean, you look at week 1, they lost to the Broncos by a field goal. Week 2, lost to the Dolphins by 2 points, and they had the chance to kick that field goal. Week 3 obviously was a different story against the Chiefs as they got beat by pretty much 2 touchdowns. But last week they could have surprised everybody and beat the Eagles. They lost by 2 in that game, and if they were given a shot, would they really have had faith in Koo to kick the field goal?
Exactly. Yeah, you got to step up in this league, and he just didn't do it. But they move on, and hopefully Novak can make those game-winning kicks.
So the last story I want to bring up is so Monday Night Football, Kansas City against Washington, great game if everybody watched it. So Terrell Pryor breaks off for a long touchdown, and apparently at some point during the game, one of the fans used a racial slur against him. So the NFL has agreed that if Pryor is to ID this person, they'll ban the fan. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it's the right move for the NFL, man. Just from a human standpoint, there's no place in this world for, racist slurs and all that stuff. We're just a fan of the sport, watching these amazing athletes play. So I think they did a good job in, banning this NFL fan if Terrell Pryor brings his identity forward. But I think it's a great move. How about you?
It is really just it is sad to hear something like that. My main thing is that you got all the NFL protests going on. Whether you want to say it's for unity, which it has been lately, or for the original Colin Kaepernick deal as fighting social injustice to minorities. Just a fan saying something like that, even to a guy that just is trying to go out there and perform, it just shows how bad this country can be at sometimes from various aspects. But football is a great game. Leave race out of it. A lot of the guys on the field are black guys or minorities, and they play their hearts out just as much as the white guys do, or the Hispanic guys, or any diverse character in the league.
Yeah, like you were straight on with it. I mean, it's just not a place where racism should come up to. We should just love watching the spectacle of the NFL, no matter what color is out there. So I think the NFL should ban this guy and like make an example out of him, because I mean they're for unity, like we've seen in the past couple of weeks with the protests and all that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens here and there, and the NFL will just have to tighten down on it, and make sure to get the wrong people out and show them that that's unacceptable.
Oh yeah, definitely unacceptable behavior from a fan standpoint. But let's move on to the power rankings.
Yeah.
If we should, let's see the new power rankings this week. Kansas City didn't move. They stayed at the first position, ranked number 1. This is on NFL.com. I know there's multiple power ranking lists out there, but the Broncos move up from 3 spots to the 8th position, and then the Raiders drop down to the 20th spot, and then the Chargers, I believe, drop down again to the 29th spot. What do you got to make of it, Milo?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the Chiefs are the cream of the crop, and they deserve where they belong. Per ESPN's rankings, they have the Broncos at 4. They also have the Raiders at 11, and then they have the Chargers sitting up here at 25. So they definitely are kind of floating off like that. Like you have Kansas City, they're performing exceptionally well, and only undefeated team left in the league. The Broncos are showing how tough their defense is, and pulling off close games like they did back in Peyton Manning's last year with the defense. And Raiders are just kind of falling off. They have to find an identity, but if they can find that identity, I'm sure they'll move or stay in the top 12 at least in playoff contention. And San Diego is just Los Angeles, is just a hot mess. They are struggling to adjust to their new home, struggling to come together as a unit and perform their best.
Yeah, like you said, cream of the crop for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're just, a well-put machine right now, and they're even down 10-0 in the first quarter to the Redskins, but it didn't faze them. They came back strong. So definitely deserving of the first spot, going undefeated. The Broncos, I think they deserve that number 4 spot in the ESPN. I think NFL ranked them pretty low for I don't know what reason, but as you see, the rush defense is ranked number 1 in the league, and even their defense total is ranked number 1 in the league, giving up 50 yards per game on the yard on rushing. But yeah, I think they're just doing well, the Broncos. And then down to the Raiders, the NFL list puts them on 20. And I think the last 2 weeks they've played as like the number 20th team in the NFL. But I do respect ESPN for putting them 11, because they have, fallen off, and their offense has fallen off. But I think once they get Derek Carr back and, have that late season push, I feel like they'll be back to that elite offense as we know them. And then Los Angeles is like a hot mess, like you said. They just can't get all their cylinders to click. 1 week they have a good rushing week. Next week they have a good passing week. They just got a new kicker. So I think they're deserving of that 29th spot.
Yeah. And by the way, go ahead and check out our website. It's armchairallamericans.com. We also put out our power rankings today. And on our list, we have Kansas City sitting at 1, Denver is sitting at 4. So those two are similar to the ESPN power rankings. On our list, we had Oakland actually drop to 18th after losing this past weekend. And, I guess you could say that's kind of a guess by our staff and myself that they might have some issues with EJ Manuel if he can't perform, and they could see a drop off there. And then Chargers are sitting at 28th on our list. And yeah, like Cade said, it's just the one thing you look at that's kind of the constant in this AFC West is just the fact that the Chargers are not performing well. They're not showing up. So, they deservingly belong near the end of the list. The one reason why they're probably not even last place on the list is the simple fact that they have the potential to be a really great team.
Yeah, they do have the potential to be a great team. I mean, you saw it last week. One quarter, they look like the 29th best team, but then the next quarter they're scoring just like that, back-to-back scoring drives and stuff like that. Who, like, you take a look at it, it's like a top 10 team. So I do like them not being, ranked in the 30s, but their record shows 0-4. So hopefully they can get a win against the Giants this next week. And then Oakland, I think a great position in the Armchair All-Americans rankings as number 18 because they got 27th best offense in the league, which is a crazy stat. I would have never guessed in the start of the season for them to be there. And then their defense is ranked 20th. So, and then like you said, along with EJ Manuel, we'll have to see what he brings to the table if he can get them back up the charts.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching that game this weekend. I mean, of course, I'll watch my Broncos play, but I'll be watching the Oakland game just to see how they respond to not having Derek Carr. And I was actually thoroughly impressed with EJ Manuel when he came in the game late against Denver, and he just seemed like he was poised and confident and ready to step right in.
Oh, yeah, he definitely seemed poised and confident. And I'll definitely be checking out that game, too, against the Ravens. Like you said earlier in the podcast, a little bit disappointing coming from Baltimore this season, but I think it's a great opportunity for the Raiders to make some progress in that struggling offense they have. But we can transition into the Raiders versus the Broncos if you want to start it off.
Yeah, so very interesting game. It was a kind of low-scoring game for both teams. The Broncos did just enough to come through, picking off EJ Manuel at the end of the game to secure the win. But the defense is playing lights out in Denver, with the exception of I believe they're 11th in the league right now, the Denver Broncos pass defense, which is the surprise. But you look at their running defense, their run defense, it has just been off this chart good. And to hold some of the best running backs in the league, low to where they're not doing nothing. I mean, you can tell they were frustrating Marshawn Lynch on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see it in the stats. Raiders rushed for 24 yards on 15 attempts. Their run defense is just impeccable right now. I feel like they can't do any better, allowing 50 yards a game. You got to give it up to that defense in Denver for just coming in, and Von Miller and all those guys. Just that front line is just crazy good.
Well, and one of the key moves for the Broncos this past offseason was getting Kyle Pecco. I mean, Domata Pecco, and he has come in and he's been a proven just like plugger of wherever he plays on the line. It's not that he's one of those guys that'll get in the backfield constantly and just destroy the other quarterback. He is good at controlling the line, and I think that's a big factor in why they're able to stop the run so well.
I think so too, man. He's everywhere on those plays. Every play that's on the line of scrimmage, he's there on top of the guy tackling him, it seems like. And let's see, the Raiders only have 11 first downs. They've been struggling on that for these past 2 weeks, and the Broncos are just capitalizing.
Yeah, they really took advantage of the lack of production on the Raiders' offensive side. I mean, Derek Carr finished the game before he went out with the injury. He finished 10 of 18 with 143 yards and 1 touchdown. That's not Derek Carr numbers right there. Marshawn Lynch, 9 carries, 12 yards. Johnny Holton was the one that receiver that probably torched the Broncos the worst with the 1 reception for a 64-yard touchdown. But
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, it was Denver really took advantage of that, and they had the upper hand at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you look back on the game, and the Raiders weren't really doing all too much in the first half. The only big, only score they had was that Holton touchdown where he broke free off that 64-yard touchdown from Derek Carr. But other than that, man, they weren't doing nothing on offense. It was like King was like their MVP for the first half. But I'm surprised on the Raiders defense. They allowed 16 points. They allowed big gains off of Jamal Charles and Anderson, and then Simeon making plays to like Derby. He had 4 receptions, 75 yards, a touchdown. But I mean, they stopped him in the red zone and made them kick field goals all game.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with that defense is they were able to get to the quarterback in that game, and they got to Simeon 4 times, sacked him 4 times, and they had 9 total tackles that were tackles for losses. So they were able to get in the backfield, but Denver just did enough to get by. And one of the key factors for Denver was the presence of the run game, as you just mentioned, with Jamal Charles breaking off and averaging 6.6 per carry, and then C.J. Anderson having just shy of a 100-yard game.
Yeah, that's like the duo, the 1-2 combo over there in Denver is their running game, which just makes Simeon just 10 times better off the play actions he does. But I mean, you see in the rushing in the league, the Denvers are ranked number 3 with 143 yards a game, and that comes as no surprise. I mean, the front line's doing good. C.J. Anderson is just killing it. Jamal Charles averaging 6 yards a carry. I mean, this offense is deadly at times.
It can be. There's still some inconsistency. I don't know if it's really Trevor Simeon's fault or if the defenses are just playing our receivers that well here in Denver. But he has been struggling. This week he didn't throw an interception, which is a good thing. But he did take the 4 sacks for negative 24 yards, and he was 16 of 26 for 179. So altogether, he didn't have a great day, but he did lead his team just enough, to get the victory.
Yeah, exactly. I think he looked comfortable in the first half. He was moving the chains, and the Broncos scored 10 points to 0. I mean, it was 10-7 in the end of the first half, but I think the Broncos were in control of basically the whole 2 quarters. But yeah, I think there's that rush defense. I mean, that rushing they have there is just, top 5 in the NFL, as you see in the stats.
Yeah, if anybody told you this year that the Broncos were going to have a great running attack and a great run defense, you probably would have laughed in their face. And it's just been a combo that's been working this year for them.
Yeah. How about that catch from A.J. Derby, too, that one-handed grab?
Wow, that was impressive. I mean, I bet Odell Beckham was like, I wish that was me, So
got his Odell Beckham on.
Exactly. So it was a great catch, and it deserved to be one of the plays of the week, which I believe it was.
Oh yeah, it was definitely top 5. I don't know if it was on the top 10 on ESPN, but it definitely should have been top 3 in my opinion.
Oh yeah, so we'll wrap up the Broncos and Oakland game right now, and we'll get started with this Los Angeles Chargers and Eagles game. So one of the big things that came out of this game was that it looked like a Philadelphia Eagles home game. So that was pointed out on social media, and it was disappointing, I guess, for the home crowd, and shows really how much Los Angeles doesn't appreciate having the Chargers there. But it was a good game otherwise. I mean, Phillip Rivers just scoring 2 touchdowns near the end of the game, and they had the chance to kind of come back in this one and shock the football world by beating the Eagles.
Yeah, I saw those videos on social media too, where it looked like an Eagles home game, and it sounded like even like a Eagles home game when they made big plays. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think Los Angeles appreciates the Chargers. I mean, like they should. I think it's a great team. It's a great opportunity to become a football team in Los Angeles. But I mean that stadium is just so small that I think the away team is always going to overshadow the Chargers as well, because we've seen that in the couple past few weeks. But yeah, I mean, Phillip Rivers, he had 347 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know he had a fumble early, but he came back late, and it just shows you how deadly this offense can be if he's on. Especially, I mean, for Keenan Allen, the guy was just hitting like catches all day, 138 yards for 5 receptions.
Yeah, he was playing. He was playing like the Keenan Allen we all expect him, to see him play like when he's not injured. I think the biggest factor for Los Angeles in this game was the fact that they really got squashed rushing. LeGarrette Blount, 16 carries for 136 yards. He was just, going through that defense like it was nothing. And Chargers, they just couldn't put the rush together. And a couple of their running backs are injured this week, but they're going to need to put some rushing together if they really, really want to have an effect and use Phillip Rivers as best they can.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you see in the stats, 214 yards for the Eagles for rushing, and then the Chargers have 58 yards. And then that, translates to the possessions. The Eagles end up with basically 40 minutes to the Los Angeles Chargers 20 minutes. So, like, the Eagles just definitely, dominated the game in that aspect. But, yeah, I mean, the offense can be deadly, and then the defense does show up here and there, but that's one big thing that I took away from the game is the defense had a chance to stop the Eagles late in the game to put Phillip Rivers back on the field, but Philadelphia's rushing was just too good.
Yeah, if you look at the stats, Philadelphia really didn't outperform the Los Angeles Chargers. It was the rushing did just enough, and that's the big thing that they had going for them with the Eagles. But if you look at all the statistics straight across the board, you would have thought that Los Angeles would have won this game, and it probably was kind of a depressing moment when they came up short in the end and still remain 0-4 or still remain without a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the same story every week for these guys. It's just, they have a chance late in the game and then they just give it up to, missing a field goal or letting Kareem Hunt go for a 60-yard touchdown, big plays. So I hope they get a win here soon because the Rams look like the dominant team in Los Angeles right now from the way they're performing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story right there too. So.
Which is crazy. I would not expect the Rams to be that good this year, but hopefully the Chargers, I mean, they're playing the New York Giants, who are both 0-4 this upcoming week. So hopefully they can get that first win for Los Angeles and just to boost their morale, give them some confidence.
Oh, they'll need it. They'll need it. I mean, you look at their schedule coming up here, and they have the Giants, which is another 0-4 team, but is a team that's just as good as them and has had high expectations, but falling short, obviously. After that, the Raiders, Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars. I mean, you name it. They just got a stretch of hard games coming up. And out of the next 5 games, only one of them is going to be at home, and that'll be against the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, they've put themselves in a hole going 0-4, especially in a division like this. I don't want to give up playoff hopes on them right now, but, it's looking like if they don't find that winning formula, they're going to be out of the playoffs this year. But that doesn't mean that they can not upset teams because, we've seen these past 4 weeks, their offense can be deadly at times, and the defense can show up. It's just a matter of getting all that on the same page.
That's for sure. So next we'll move to Kansas City's game against the Redskins, and Kansas City looked like they were struggling at first. They couldn't really drive the ball downfield, but out of nowhere, you got Alex Smith, the superhero quarterback this year. He has just come in and managed games and destroyed the league this year.
Yeah, it was 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. The Redskins just looked like the team that was going to win. You know, they had that big play with Pryor. Kirk Cousins was on target that first quarter. Vernon Davis was making big plays, but, you know, start of the second quarter, I think Smith started connecting with Kelsey. You know, he had a big game for 111 yards, a touchdown, but that just got the ball rolling on the offensive end, and then I think the Chiefs just took control from there. You got Kareem Hunt going for 100 yards again. That offense is just steadily good. They just don't make mistakes.
Oh, not at all. And one big thing I want to point out and I want to emphasize is you know, this could be Alex Smith's last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I mean, you can clearly see this guy is an exceptional quarterback. It seems like he almost gets better every year, but he is overshadowed by the likes of Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger or, you know, any of those other guys. For instance, in this game, there's a couple times where, you know, the Chiefs didn't look like they had a chance, and Alex Smith just rolled out the pocket or cut through the defensive line and offensive line and just ran the ball. He had 7 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. Longest run of the day was 32 yards. So, I mean, he's willing to put all of it on the line and get this team to winning games and back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely puts it out on the line. Like you said, that 32-yard run, I think that was at the end of the game where, you know, everybody thought he was going to go out of bounds, but he just ends up getting 15 more yards and, you know, takes on a safety head on. You know, you got to give kudos to that. And I think he just gets overshadowed by, you know, Tom Brady and all these guys because he just doesn't have the numbers. You know, you see 27 for 37, almost 300 yards, a touchdown, which is great numbers, but it's not compared to like the big names with 4 touchdowns, 400 yards. But this guy, I feel like, is probably the best leader in the league and just knows how to run his offense and is just the most comfortable quarterback in his offense.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when Chad Pennington was in the game, and he was one of those quarterbacks like Alex Smith where he wasn't necessarily going to throw the ball downfield deep, but he was going to manage the game. He's going to get the ball to the outside or get it to the inside and just have, you know, his receivers do the work. And you know, it could be a game where he throws 25 passes or let's say throws 35 passes, completes 25 of them, and has like 175 yards, but he'll have 2 touchdowns. And Smith's been doing both of that. He either has a large game or he has a good game, but he really is putting out his best there and making sure his team scores and staying confident and staying, you know, calm in tough situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alex Smith does a great job, but also like Kirk Cousins on the other side is a great quarterback for the Redskins. And I mean, this game was super close. It was back and forth all the way till, you know, the end of the fourth quarter and then the end of the game, which, I mean, the Redskins could have caught that touchdown. I think Doxson almost had that chance, which I thought he caught it, but ended up not catching it. And then they end up hitting that field goal, and then Alex Smith, you know, Mr. Hero for the Chiefs, drives them down the field. But I think the Redskins showed out too.
Oh, yeah. Kirk Cousins and company looked really good. For a while there, I thought that they easily had the game. They were going to win the game. But, you know, out of nowhere, Alex Smith comes back. So 10-7 halftime, and then tied game at the end of the third quarter. And then the Chiefs were just too much for Washington in the end, and their defense stepped up. You know, considering that Washington had a better game defensively, but come the fourth quarter, they didn't. It was Kansas City's defense that made the difference.
Oh, yeah, they definitely did make a defense with that late stand. You know, that the last drive the Redskins had, making them kick the field goal. And yeah, that's just the go-to for Kansas City is their great, offense, number one in the league in rushing and then number two overall. But you also got to give the defense the credit too, because they came out and they show out every single week. Excuse me. But like you said, the offense, I just can't stop talking about it. I mean, they have 29 first downs. Their possession is 37 compared to Washington's 22 minutes. It's just Andy Reid just has that offense clicking every single week.
Yeah, and I believe I'm pulling up right now, but you're looking at this rookie running back in Kareem Hunt, a guy from Toledo, so not obviously not a big school, but I mean, in his career already, he has 68 attempts, rushing attempts for 502 yards. I mean, the projection I'm reading right now is that he will have 272 attempts for 2,008 yards and average 7.4 yards per carry and get 16 touchdowns. I mean, that to me is just ridiculous. He is showing the football world that why he is one of the best, and that he's about just proving it. And even on the receiving side of the deal, 13 receptions for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, so he shows his explosiveness.
Man, those stats are just insane. I don't know if anybody's been the MVP and the Rookie of the Year the same year, but it would be crazy to see that happen. And I'm definitely rooting for him because I'm a big fan of him. And I know you are, having him on your fantasy team.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you?
and I was a fan of him coming out of college, and I was hoping the Broncos might have picked him up, but seeing him go to Kansas City, that one really hurts now for anybody that's a fan of any AFC West team besides the Chiefs. And this kid is just phenomenal, and he just keeps bringing it. The only game he really fell short on was the Philadelphia game, and he carried the ball a season low 13 times in that game, had 81 yards. So I mean, every other game he's been over 100 yards. I mean, this kid is just ridiculous. It's like you just want to watch him every week to see what he's going to do next. And it scared me with fantasy football and all that he wasn't having that great of a game to start out the game. I was like, man, is he ever going to score me some points? And next thing you know, he just takes off.
Oh man, he's
has
like
100 yards.
Yeah, he has 100 yards, and he's like Mr. Fourth Quarter. I swear, every fourth quarter he has big plays where he just busts out for like 20 yards, or that big run he had against San Diego last week to get that game, to get the game winner, basically. But I mean, you also have to look at the other weapons they have. They have Tyreek Hill, who's steady getting 40 plus yards in the receiving game, getting all those screens thrown to him, and then this new guy. Or I guess not new guy, but he made an appearance this last week, Albert Wilson for Kansas City, who had that big catch to have them end up kicking the field goal to basically winning the game. And you add in Kelsey with that, and they just have weapons on this offense.
Yeah, and good point there. One person you don't want to overshadow is Chris Conley. He has been kind of low key this year and hasn't really got as much targets as some would expect. But when defenses started focusing on how to stop Tyreek Hill, Albert Wilson, and Kareem Hunt, they might forget about this guy, and he can easily go up the field pretty quick. I mean, he had 2 receptions for 31 yards, and so he obviously shows he can catch the long ball and get some yardage on it. But he's a pretty quick guy, and that's going to be a sleeper here come middle of the season, end of the season.
Oh, I know. They just have tons of weapons on that offense, and it's just Andy Reid play calling the shots. They're just running all these weird formations. It's beautiful to see because it's like you can never underestimate them. They'll have a couple lackluster drives, but then they just come out and just look so beautiful and score an easy touchdown on you guys, on anybody, I mean. But what do you got them against the Texans this coming up week?
Oh, that's a tough game. I actually once again check out our website. We have a NFL Pick'em column with some of our lead writers from the NFL department, and I was one of the few ones that picked the Texans to win this game. I mean, Deshaun Watson, he's been playing really hot, and this kid's blooming into a star. I mean, I know the projections are that Kansas City is most likely to win this game, but heading into Houston, their defense is not as I guess you could say it's not as bad as some people would think. There is some holes that they do need to fix, but offensively, we don't know what Deshaun Watson is capable of fully yet. So I think they're going to have a tough time down there in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their defense; they're ranked number 5 in the All NFL. So, and they have a history of having a great defense with J.J. Watt and the boys down in Houston. But like you said, Deshaun Watson, coming out of Clemson, I had high hopes from him. And, I think a lot of people were looking at him as just like a running type quarterback. And I think they had I think it was Tom Savage who was going to start the season. But as soon as Deshaun Watson came in, he had that one chance and he made the best of that opportunity. And I'm not sure how much they scored last week. I don't know if they ran the score up to like 100, but this dude was just killing it last week. So it's going to be a great game against the Chiefs. And I can see Houston winning, but I want to go with the Kansas City, man. They're 4-0, the only undefeated team. I'm going to stay within the division. Hopefully they get that 5-0.
It would be nice. We'll definitely have to see that one. And, that game is it's a Monday night game, I believe, or is it Monday night? Let's see.
No, it's Sunday night. Yep.
Sunday night, yeah, Sunday night game at 6:30 on NBC. So that's going to be the game of the day, obviously, right there, and everybody tune in and watch it because you get to see like a stellar rookie and Deshaun Watson face off against a stellar rookie and Kareem Hunt. I mean, what more could you ask for in a football game?
Oh, I know, and it's prime time. Only game on NBC. I'm gonna definitely be tuning in because it's a great. You got multiple stories, like you said. You got the 2 rookies who, looking like the future of this league going against each other, and then you got the great offense in Kansas City and a great defense in the Texans. Should be a great matchup. But how about I know we touched on it earlier, but Ravens Raiders. Any predictions on that one?
That's going to be a tough one. Again, on the weekend, on the week pick 'em column, I picked the Oakland Raiders to win this one. I just feel that EJ Manuel, as well as he played last week, will translate that over to play against the Baltimore Ravens really well. So don't count them out yet. Baltimore's had a lot of issues. They got stomped on by Jacksonville the other day. They got stomped on by, Pittsburgh dominated them, and they didn't even use Antonio Brown for that game. So the Ravens have a lot of issues, and so do the Raiders as well. But I feel the Raiders will win this one.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are 2-2. They're going through some struggles right now. Start of the season, I thought the Raiders were better than the Ravens, and I still think that way, even though EJ Manuel is going to take the load this week at the quarterback position. But I think he looked great in the minutes he was out there, and I think the big thing here is that it's in Oakland, and I feel like the Raiders always perform better there, home field advantage, and I think the Raiders are going to pull off this one and get to 3-2, and then have the talks start about the talks about Derek Carr start to come back. But I think it's going to boost their confidence a little bit and have that late season push, or the mid season push, as I should say.
Yeah, and they'll definitely have to lean on Marshawn Lynch for this one. Take a little bit of pressure off Emmanuel to, step in and try to be Derek Carr-like. But they need to put a lot of emphasis on the run game and just get Marshawn going again. Have him going hyphy like he was, against the Jets.
Yeah, it goes against the Jets. Yeah, we definitely need to see Marshawn Lynch and even like Jalen Richard, making a good appearance. But I think it starts with that offensive line. I don't know for what reason why they're, lackluster this season, because they were, the thing to talk about last season. But, they just need to find out that winning formula again. And, I think they'll find it out this week. and hopefully that rushing game can lead to that dub.
Yeah, and keep your eye on Khalil Mack. He had 2 sacks against the Broncos, so he's starting to heat up, and no telling how many times he'll get to Flacco this week. So uh, he's trying to put him and Von Miller. They go at it. They want to be the best pass rushers. So uh, they're in full season mode now, and they're racing against each other to get more sacks than each other. But so keep your eye on Khalil Mack. Finally, what do you think of our final game, Los Angeles against the New York Giants?
Man, both teams are 0-4, and both teams are, equally as deadly as any other offense in the league. It's in New York, but I just don't see the Chargers traveling all the way to New York and then defeating the Giants when, the Giants are in the same position as they are. I think the Chargers are going to lose. I don't want to say close battle, but definitely within 2 touchdowns. But the Giants, I believe, is going to pull this one out.
Yeah, and I'm actually going in the other direction. I think Los Angeles has a chance to pull this out. It's a tough game for them, and I think it will be a high-scoring game because 2 excellent quarterbacks that just haven't found their groove this year. They've had some decent games, but nothing that pops. 2 defenses. The Giants have a pretty solid defense. Los Angeles could have a pretty solid defense. So I think that's going to be the difference maker there is how well each defense performs.
Yeah, I believe the same thing too. Whatever defense shows up and plays the best is going to win this game. Even though the Giants are favored, 65-34, I can definitely see the Chargers coming in and Rivers just, going on a clinic to all his weapons he has on the receiving core that the Chargers do have. So, yeah, I can definitely see it, but I'm going to go with Eli. I think Odell might have a big game and get the first victory for the Giants.
So we always do this. Who's your, division MVP this week?
Division MVP this week. He's had a few lackluster leaks these past 2 weeks, but everybody's kind of turning on him. He was hyphy at 1 week against the Jets, but I think Marshawn Lynch is going to have a big game, and have a breakout game against the Ravens. How about you?
I'm actually going to go on the defensive side of the ball and say Joey Bosa from the Chargers. I think he will be able to get into the backfield, and I think he's going to get Eli Manning on his back a couple times, if not 3 times, and just really put some pressure on the quarterback and come up in big situations, change the whole game for those 2 teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Joey Bosa is definitely reliable on that defense for the Chargers. He's had a couple sacks, I think 2.5 sacks this year, but, he's always there for the tackle, and he's always around the plays and that offense on the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, I could see that happen.
So who do you think will perform next best to those 2 guys? Who's your defensive player of the week?
My defensive player of the week. I'm becoming a big fan of Houston for the Chiefs. Justin Houston.
Yeah.
I know he scored that big touchdown late in the game against the Redskins, and everybody's on his case for running it in, but he's just having a great season this year, and he always seems to be at the right place at the right time. So I think he might get to Deshaun Watson, and fluster him for being, him being a rookie and all for Kansas City.
Yeah, for my offensive player of the week, since I picked the defensive player, I guess I'm going to have to go with this one's tough because you brought up Marshawn Lynch, which is a good point, but I'll go in the opposite direction, and I'll say Conley from the Chiefs. I feel he's been underused, and I feel that he's going to be worked in somehow to the offense and get more looks and just get open more. So he'll have a big game, and helped them out down in Houston.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening, man. Conley is a weapon of mass destruction, man, and he's a secret right now, but he's just waiting to explode on one of these weeks coming up, and I can see that happening in Houston.
Oh, finally, we forgot to mention it, but the Denver Broncos, they have a bye week this week, so no game from them this week. They'll be working on mainly improving that defense, that the no-fly zone that's actually let a couple airplanes fly through. I guess you could say, but yeah, Denver's defense has been struggling. They've allowed 8 touchdowns, I believe, through the air, and so that's something they want to work on this week, and obviously improving the offensive line and certain aspects, getting those blocks that they need to protect Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a great position right now. Early bye week in the season, 3-1. They come out this last week and perform way better than they did the previous week. And I think they're just in a great position moving forward. Just got to fix up that secondary. But, those Aqib Talib and all those other guys in that secondary can, fix the problem, and they can even be a better defense than they are already right now.
Yeah, they'll come back on the 15th and play the Giants. So, they'll need to rest. And after they play the Giants, they'll be away from Mile High for 3 games. And then they come back and they'll face the Patriots. So their portion of the middle part of the schedule for them is getting really tough.
Yeah, and they're only a game away from the Chiefs for the #1 spot in the AFC West, so they're gonna need this rest for that late season push to get secured in the playoffs.
All right, well, that's gonna wrap us up tonight. We're bringing you all the latest AFC West news, the biggest stories from the week, recaps from the previous week, and previews for the following week. But once again, my name's Milo Hay. I'm coming from Denver, Colorado.
I'm Cade Campbell. I'm coming from Seattle, Washington. Make sure you check out West 'em Up Podcast on Twitter. Give us a retweet. Give us a follow. We appreciate everything. Peace out, guys.
Have a good one.